channel. Today we're going to be continuing the build of the RB19 stages 3, 4 and 5. Really excited for this part because we're going to start building up some key parts of the car. So let's go. Right guys, so what we want to do, we want to take the wheel rim and we want to place the wheel rim within the tyre. This is quite a thick tyre, to be honest, so I am tempted to put it in a bowl of hot water and heat it up. It's pretty thick, pretty hard, even though ironically this is a soft compound tyre. So what I'll try and do is I'll probably try and push fit it from the back, just so that if I do cause any damage to the rim, the tyre, it will be at the back of the tyre, on the inside of the vehicle, not the outside. So let's go ahead and try and fit it. What I will try and do actually is put a little piece of it in first and then try and stretch the tyre over the rim. Obviously you want to protect the stickers, the P0 stickers, and actually, to be honest, it does click in quite nicely. Now what I need to do is get the lip on the lip of the rim. So this might be a bit more tricky. So we'll try and get the front over. Which is not too bad. Yeah, there we go. So it wasn't too difficult. So the front is on, but the back is not. So then we should be able to kind of coerce it backwards. Sometimes what you want to do here really is kind of pull the tyre away, stretch it out a bit. But to be honest, it's still really thick. So what I might do is continue to push it back and then just try and balance it front to back if I can. Or I might heat it up slightly. Right guys, so what I've done is I've tried to get it as best I can on the front of the rim, but on the back I'm still struggling even after heating it slightly. So what I'm going to do is get a flat screwdriver and just be really careful of the rim. I'm just going to pop it under there and just coerce the tyre onto the rim. Just pull it out slightly. So I've marked the rim there slightly, to be honest. But on the back of the wheel we should be okay. Instead of trying to get it perfect here, what I'm going to do is just coax it out slightly, and then we can just roll it around and just try and get a good balance front to back. And I'm happy with that. That's all good. Awesome. Cool. On to the next step. So beyond that, what we're now going to do is we are going to take the inner wheel rim. So this is actually a cover for the wheel. It's a bit of a shame really, they cover up such a nice looking wheel in my opinion. But really what we're going to do is we're going to take the cover for the wheel, we're going to turn it over and we're going to place this part inside. So I think what we're going to do on here is take the larger piece and put it or align it with this section, and we're just going to flip this piece over and place it on top like so. Just going to double check that that aligns. Right, so I've got my screws out finally. Actually, in fact, this part goes the other way, so I had that incorrect. So this part actually goes this way, which makes much more sense because it sits within the housing now and is nice and flush. So we will put 2A screws in here, get rid of that screwdriver for a sec, and we will do these up. Again, I'm not going to fully tighten them, I'm just going to do them piece by piece. Great. So now we have our wheel rim, if you like, or our insert that's going to go into the wheel. and we will move on to step 3. So guys, as per the manual, this is actually a push fit part. So this part is larger. So what you want to do is you want to get this through one of the larger pieces, obviously not the smaller piece, a larger piece. So what I'm going to do is basically lay it up to the rim, and then when I find a larger piece, I'm just going to push it in. You'll hear a little click, and that is in. Awesome. Then what we want to do, guys, for the final assembly step is take this little push fit part, really nice neon yellow part, and we're going to put that on the centerpiece here. So we're just going to push fit that straight in to the rim. It's a little bit fiddly, to be honest. Can't really get it lined up. There we go. You'll just hear it click, and that's it. It is in, complete. Right guys, so now we're on to stage 4. So 4.1 is essentially starting the brake assembly. So we're going to take this section, which is 4A, and you can see that 4A has some little grooves in the top, and it's actually telling me to take this strip of metal and bend it through the gap. So this has got 2 indentations. One is more flat and one is kind of 90-degree angle. It looks to me from the manual that the 90-degree one is towards the end of the loop. So what I'm first going to do is hook this one in, as you can see. So I've hooked that one in, and I'm going to bend it all the way around this, effectively a heat shrink, I think, or a heat shield. And I'm going to, it's a bit short to be honest, I'm going to pull it a bit tighter, and then hook it in, and then bend it back slightly. There you go. So we've just bent it back and hooked it in. Hopefully you can see that on the camera, and we are good. The next step is to take this section, which is 4B, and with that section we're going to look for the 4 raised pieces of plastic there, which again are push fit essentially, and they're going to push fit straight into these sections. So what we're going to do, we're going to marry those parts up. So I'm just going to align those, and in theory they will click together quite nicely. Just watch that doesn't pop out when you're pushing that together. Hopefully that will hold in, and that just gives us, I think, our vented look to our brake disc, essentially. So now that we've done that, on this side, which is the one that we've just pushed on, this is the side that we actually want to attach our disc. So we do have this part, which is basically a brake disc. This is metallic, and we do want to basically attach the outer part to the brake disc. So you're going to have to peel this back and stick it on, essentially like so. So bear with me here while I peel this off, guys. Alright, so it took me a little while to get that sticker off there. Place that over there. So then all we want to do is obviously make sure that this is fully lined up, and we will stick that down. So it should be centered on the part, and there I think we have a metallic brake disc which is vented in the middle. So nice looking part. Cool. Then we'll move on to step 4.3. So we'll just put that to the side. So guys, the next step is 4.3, in which we're going to take this section here and we're going to attempt to get the wishbone and the suspension arm through there and bolted into this part here. So I do note in the manual, and I know that DeAgostini have sent out an email, that the manual is telling us to use A screws here for the metal to metal connection, but these are in fact plastic screws. So we are going to use C screws, which are metal to metal screws. So what we want to do here is we want to put this section through, which is the wishbone, and we just want to hook it in to this part here. So it is a little bit fiddly, so I'm just going to try and do my best to hold that. Pop this screw through, which I think I'm going to drop the part, which I do. Let me hold that in place. There we go. So I'm just going to drive this one through slightly. Perfect. I'm not going to fully tighten it just yet because I do need to get the other one through.
The next step is to get this lower inboard suspension arm through. So we're going to pop that through here as well. And again, we're going to try and get another screw, again a C screw, through into there. Perfect. So I'm just going to tighten them up a little bit more. Okay, cool. So they are tight, but there's still some movement which is to be expected. Now, what the instruction manual tells you to do is step 4.4, which is actually to drive 2 A screws into the plastic housing here to attach all of this onto the hub. I think it's a hub, but we'll find out. I'll drop that one. Yeah, these are going in very nicely, these plastic ones. Just pop the other one in there as well. Perfect. So now we have our wishbone and our suspension link. Right, so I've double checked what screws to use for these, and the only ones that I have left that I have 2 of the same type is actually the B screws. So we're just going to align it, as I said, here. Just be careful because it doesn't in fact go on this top section here, it goes on the lower section. And then we're going to drive in 2 of these B screws. So if I just offer that up, screw one in. Again, I'm not going to tighten it all the way. I'll do the bottom one. Just check that it's tight. Could do with a bit more, to be honest, so we'll go a bit further with it. Sometimes it's quite hard to tell if it's tight given they give you a very little screwdriver, hence my point before around maybe using a longer one just to get a bit more leverage. But you do have to be careful because the parts are or can be very fragile sometimes. So again, we'll check for tightness, that is tight, and there we have it. 1 wishbone and 1 inboard suspension arm. So that completes stage 4. So like and subscribe and we will jump on to stage 5. Okay guys, so what we're going to do is we're going to start assembling the wishbone and the suspension arm. So the suspension arm is going to go through a little groove in here. So we'll slide that through there, like so. Just try and give it a little bit of support into this other alloy part. Quite stiff to be honest in there, just where they've coated the parts. We're going to slide the top part through here, and then we're going to use a D screw. Pop the D screw through the top, trying to keep the parts in situ as we go. So I'm through the top, and I just need to make sure that I get into the second support arm there, which we do. Perfect. And again, we'll do that with a reasonable amount of force, but not too much force so we don't strip the parts. So as you can see, we've got quite a number of arms now and supports. So we'll move on to step 5.3. So step 5.3, we're going to take this small section here, and this essentially just plugs into this section on the wheel hub. Right guys, so I've just had a very good look at this part. It's very hard in the manual to actually see what way this goes in, but I believe it actually goes in with this angle actually tilting towards the shroud. So I think it actually goes in like this. I don't know if you can see that. I think it goes in like that. So it's a push fit. but I do think that if we've got it wrong, we should have some chance at least of getting that back out if we need to. So we'll just push that in, and that part is fitted correctly. Awesome, so that was 5.3. Now we will move on to 5.4, where we fit the brake discounting, which is 5D, which is this lovely part here, on to what we've already built thus far. So for this section, it looks like we actually have to hold the assembly this way. And then we'll try and get all of that aligned. And then we need 2 A screws. And what this will do, guys, this will basically fit, trying to get the alignment together now. This will fit over the whole assembly, like so. Okay guys, so the next section is a little bit tricky, a little bit fiddly. So this is section 5.4. So what we want to do essentially is on this shroud, which is the brake discounting, there's actually 2 notches. And what you want to do is line them up with this one and this one. Yeah. And then you'll also notice that on the arms there's actually a skinny section, and the shroud basically wants to sit over the skinny sections. If you take the shroud, and the easiest way I find of doing this is kind of lying the parts down so that I can just get it over. And then what you want to do is line it up with the holes, make sure that it's pressed in, and that's pretty much where it wants to be sitting. Hopefully you can see that. Then what we're going to do is take 2 A screws and drive those in here. So I'll just do one and get that one going. Give that a little bit of purchase, and then I'll take the other one, get the other one in. If I could. Perfect, so what we've got now, we've got our shroud, or brake discounting, sitting over all of our kind of suspension and wishbone components, which is awesome. So that's, the front left is coming together quite nicely. So now we'll move on to 5.5. Right guys, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take this section here, which is 5C, and we're going to place this over 4G. So to do that, what we want to do is, if you look on this section here, you've actually got 2 larger holes, here and here, and then 2 smaller holes. And on this plate here, you'll notice a few larger ones and a few smaller ones as well. So what we'll tend to do, I think we've got large, 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 which is here, here, and here, and that one's smaller. So I will flick the part around to get the correct alignment, and we will go with a fitment on there, and then we'll just click it into place. And to be honest, it's not a tight fit, so what it does want is the next section applied pretty quickly, because this is just a place on part. So issue 5 step 6 is to take the previous part that we created in the previous issue, and we're just going to place that on top. So we're going to look for the holes inside there. Again, we've got 4 holes, these are all the same size, and we're going to place that on top. So if I try and line that up, just off center. A little bit tricky to get it lined up because obviously you can't really see what you're doing. And that's it. We are in. You'll get a little click and you've got a nice hub with the brake disc that we designed in the previous section. And we're looking almost there now. And then we move on. So the final section on this build stage is to take this, what looks like a hub carrier, and push that, which is 5E, into the 4 holes on this section, which the 4 holes that we want are the corner ones. You can see there's a little bit of space left to push this in. So we'll just click that on and
push it in, obviously be a bit careful of the parts, and that should click straight into place. And we've got our first hub assembly. Just give you a good view of that. Awesome. So there we have it, guys. We've completed the front wing, we've completed part of the front left, we've got the halo section for later, and we've completed the first wheel and assembly of the shroud cover. So I'm really enjoying this build so far. It is a little bit technical and a little bit fiddly, but that's probably to be expected with the Formula 1 car. But if you're liking the build, if you're enjoying the content, please share, like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon for another video. Thanks.